What is up, guys? You got NotTheWorst here, bringing another Black Desert online video, and today we are taking a look at an updated or 2021 DK PvE succession guide. We did do one not too long ago after the skill add-on changes, but with the recent buffs that were added, especially in PvE, and there were some PvP ones too. I wanted to go ahead and do a revamp for that and see what kind of changes we've made to the class since then. So first thing we're going to talk about is taking a look at the skill add-ons and what I'm using for that setup. So let's go pulled up here. And so the first thing I want to mention is, as always, this isn't the end-all be-all to everything. Obviously, there's different routes you can go with this sort of thing. You can kind of do your own, but the skill add-ons that I use are built around the PvE rotation skill-wise that I use as well. You want to kind of modify that so that it matches, so that you're not having skills with like the same add-ons overlapping each other in certain scenarios. And you may want to think a little bit about duel for spot for some things like attack speed, especially for that, and crit when you're dueling for spot that you want to have. This is a straight up PvE build. Obviously we see no PvP damage, not much other than accuracy and evasion debuff that may also be useful in PvP situations, but you want to keep yourself aware of that, of where you kind of have that if that comes up or if you care about that. So yeah, anyways, a couple things I want to point out from here. You can see something that's new from previously that I was using, the Comma Slash that's put in here with critical hit damage on it. The thing about Comma Slash is it's now the technically hardest hitting skill. The reason I say technically, it does in PvE the absolute most damage when fully charged out of any of our skills, except when Wheel of Fortune crits. Comma Slash does now have a 100% crit modifier and hits 7 times in PvE on it, so it's a very, very, very heavy damaging skill. When fully charged, the only thing that can out damage it is your Wheel of Fortune that crits. It did get a 50% in PvE crit bonus as well, so along with your other crit modifiers, it can have a very, very high chance of critting, so it will outperform Comma Slash, but Comma Slash is a guaranteed crit for that rate, so that definitely got added in. And overall, I think critical hit damage gets pretty underrated. It does indeed add up. There's a reason corrupted crystals are pretty nice, and having this skill used just right at the beginning in the rotation, as you'll see when we get there, it brings in a whole bunch of damage. A couple other things I want to point out with it. Crit rate is not nearly as important as it was for that. The only skills you're really using in this that don't have 100% crit rate is going to be your Wheel of Fortune, so we definitely want to keep that on there. Also, your Airstrike doesn't, but that's more of a setup skill. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Some other things, it's pretty common to see DP minus on Spirit Legacy. For that, I also have back attack damage, which I'll show you again why in the skill rotation, why we put that one specifically on that skill for it. Something that's important to note about that DP that's minus, Spirit Legacy is actually a really great skill for pulling mobs when it's on cooldown. So you don't want to waste the entire cooldown for it, but it's pretty nice, especially like in a place like Secrea where you want to pull mobs over to another pack very quickly. It works really great for that. It's got big AoE and you can absolutely spam it, and it costs minimal amounts of MP even when it's on cooldown for it. We're not worried about the damage. The cool thing is when those skills are on cooldown is your skill add-ons still take effect. What does that mean? That means that when you use it, you're still going to at least get that minus 15 DP on the packs that you're pulling if you're using it. So that's going to help you out a lot with just getting a little bit extra damage during your setup skills as well. Other things just quickly to point out, the all evasion on Lunacy of Vidir. Lunacy of Vidir and Twilight Dash are your two lowest accuracy modifiers in the succession build that you're going to be using in PvE. So they only have a 5% accuracy modifier. Again, that's 5%, but I'm using air quotations on that because accuracy is very abundant in DK just in general. So having that extra evasion on there might help you if you are maybe using a crystal build that's relying a little bit more on PvE damage instead of using like Elcars or things like that you want to replace out. Maybe you're running Monastery, so you have some human damage crystals or something along those lines. So that covers the skill add-ons. Let's go ahead and jump on over to the skill rotation. Take a look at what we're doing here. All right, so the first thing I want to touch on is what I was calling earlier your setup skills. These are skills that you are going to be using while maybe the mobs are still grouping up together, so they're not quite there, or you're just kind of pulling mobs there. So as I mentioned before, Legacy, when it's on cooldown, is a great skill for that, so you might be using that early on in it, and then it does have a decently long cooldown. You're likely clearing the packs faster than that is, so once you've cleared a pack, you're moving on to the next one. You can pull with Legacy and move on from there. After that, Wheel of Fortune's great. It does go in our regular combo from here, but because it has a very quick cooldown, 6 seconds on it, it's going to be back up before that actually happens, so you can set up while the mobs are still kind of grouping up. from there. You don't have to if it's not on cooldown. Comma Slash is also great for this, or maybe the mob's just grouped up. You use the second or so to get it fully charged. You can throw a dash in there to get the back attack along with it. That's going to get you your crit damage buff on that as well, which helps out a lot. And then you kind of get to what your actual setup would be. So normally for me, you've got mobs pulled up, I'll go Wheel of Fortune, then they're grouped to Comma Slash, maybe move Unveiled Dagger, and then into Airstrike. We want that attack speed off the Unveiled Dagger and the Airstrike to get our other buffs put up, and it's decent damage at least to do that. And then we get into what is the actual bread and butter combo. So we'll Unveiled into Airstrike, dash behind the mobs, then we're going to Spirit Legacy, Slanted, Pervasive, Enforcement with Flow, Wheel, and then Lunacy. So that's pretty much the bread and butter combo that you're going to go with that to set up to get good damage. That's how we built the add-ons to fit around these buffs. Around these skills rather, to facilitate that. And you got to keep in mind, if you want to maximize trash loot and things like that and like really go hardcore grind, it's not necessarily cut and dry like you're always going to use these skills in exactly this order. You need to be kind of heads up with what your cooldowns are doing. What the mobs are doing is really important, because back attacks make a huge difference when you stay on top of them for your damage. If you find that where you're grinding that's not actually getting the job done, you can go ahead and extend the combo a little bit from there. We did get the bonus of super armor put onto Twilight Dash, so where you're placing your Nocturne previously would typically be after your Lunacy of Vidir. I actually cut that out even before the Twilight Dash. I know it was in my previous video before these changes, but I actually cut that out because it was slowing down DPS. I know the debuff is kind of nice, but throwing Nocturne on the end of your Lunacy actually causes you to be a little bit slower in your actual clear speed if you're timing how long you're killing the packs. So if you need to extend the combo anyhow, what you're going to do after your Lunacy is you'll have Twilight, and you can Nocturne cancel that with our right mouse button. It still has a lingering super armor just like the regular Nocturne for it, and it will also go ahead and apply the same debuffs that you get along with it. After doing the Nocturne from there, you may be a little bit out of position, so you can just go straight Unveiled Dagger, Airstrike into there, and then just a Slanted, Pervasive, and Enforcement Flow. If you're not killing the mobs after a full extension on your skill rotation, you might not be grinding in the right place. Either that, or maybe the mobs just weren't pulled properly for it. So if we had Legacy on cooldown, we pull a mob with that. Maybe I get over to my other pack group. I've got a Wheel of Fortune. They're just about grouped up, and then I can Comma Slash, Unveiled, Airstrike from here. I'm going to dash around, drop the actual Legacy Slanted, Pervasive, Enforcement, Wheel, Lunacy. I need to extend, I find, so Twilight Dash into Nocturne, Airstrike, Slanted, Pervasive, Enforcement. And there we go. So that's your full combo with extension from there. You can kind of see how it works in different places. And again, you ideally want to be killing them by the end of that Lunacy to get actual grind speed if you're trying to hit like top loot and trash. If you're not killing in that amount of time and having to extend constantly, I'm not saying it's not worth grinding, but it's definitely going to be lower than when you're seeing like some top numbers for different grind zones for DK. So that gives you an overview of the new updates that we got in PvE. I will be doing one of these guides for Awakening as well, so if that is out, I will tag it in the description down below as well if you want to check that out. If it's not there yet, it's because this video is new still, and I haven't quite put it up, but I'll be covering that one in a separate video. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to like it. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you get notifications when new videos go live. And if you'd like to catch me playing live, there is a link to my Twitch page in the description below. You can head on over there and drop a follow so you get notifications for that as well. With that said, that's going to be it for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and I will see you next time.